Hey everybody, it's Chuck Morris, Stephen Morris Home Team, Keller Williams, Advantage Realtor, and just coming out to you today with Command with Chuck Morris. Today we're going to go over opportunities. There's several updates and changes that have been made to opportunities, and I'm not sure if every agent is aware of the different updates and changes that have been made. So what I'd like to do is share with you a picture of what it is that we will be going over here shortly. And as you can see, these are the opportunities that we're going to be going over. We're going to be going over phases. We will be going over the stages, the creation and the use of checklist, details, the details tab within the opportunity, the seller's profile, what it's for, what you use it for, documents. Otherwise, when I teach opportunities class, when you see documents, you think compliance. The offers tab, the significance of the offers tab, and its significance to commissions. And then a brief little cover of notes, and then timeline. And at the bottom of the slide here, you can see my contact information and the Calendly link to make an appointment with me if you need to schedule a one-on-one session. I will be sharing this in the group chat at the end of the session once everyone that is on is with us. So right now we're going to go ahead and go straight into Command. And once you're logged into Command, we're going to move my little things out of the way here. Let's go ahead and go straight to opportunities. If you're ever in Command and you cannot remember the name of the actual applets that are on the side here, always click on the red square to expand, and you can see the actual names of the actual applets themselves. And we're going to click on opportunities. Now, for the most part, everyone's very familiar with this screen. This is it was originally called the pipeline, sales pipeline, and then they migrated the name to opportunities. Now, within opportunities, the primary, at least for the Advantage Group here in Florida, listings and buyers are the only ones that we generally deal with. Our brokers E&O does not cover leases, and we don't cover them ourselves under the E&O insurance of the broker. Each of these particular opportunity types have 5 phases. There's cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. So cultivate is pretty much, this is a judgment call for everyone, and everyone runs their business differently. Best practices that Deborah and I have instituted is the cultivate is more of the nurturing, the ones that we generally have all our, if you want to say, sphere of influence, someone that we know that's pretty much going to be giving us business soon, will be placed into the cultivate field shortly. The appointment, this is exactly like it sounds like, the appointment stage. We're about to schedule an appointment, we had an appointment, and then the result of the appointment, with that being hopefully an active listing or buyer agreement. Active does not mean the listing is listed within the MLS. Active can mean I have a active or a signed listing agreement. So you don't have to be active in the MLS for the multiple listing services for your actual opportunity to be under active. Under contract, pretty self-explanatory. You've got an executed contract all the way up clear to close. Then of course you're closed. So both the buyers and listings both have cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, close. However, within each of these particular phases, there are stages. For example, under cultivate, you can customize these stages however you want. So under cultivate, I believe I've changed mine, of course, 6 months or more, 6 months or less, within a month. So kind of given a time frame of when I expect this particular, to get a particular appointment. You can change these at any time, and the probabilities. Right now, we are entering the probabilities. But as Kelly, the artificial intelligence, that runs the Keller platform becomes more intelligent, it will know our probabilities of opportunity conclusions. In order to change any of these, simply click on the Edit Stages button. So within the Cultivate phase, I have the 3 stages. Stages here for Cultivate. I have 6 months and more, 6 months and less, and within a month. If I wanted to change any of these, I can simply click the Edit button and change either the probability or the stage name. So I have the ability to control this. And you can do this within each and every phase and stage within listings and within buyers. And then with respect to 6 months or more, create checklist. For example, if I'm doing a Cultivate 6 months or more, some of the things that are on our checklist for our sphere of influence or database would pop by the customers for a visit, mail newsletter to the database, get phone number of lead if it's something that we got, maybe an open house, to get a phone number, get the physical and mailing address. Sometimes there are 2 different things. Some people may live at 123 Main Street but have a P.O. box, or they live at 123 Main Street and their actual mail goes to another address. Then, of course, get the email address. You want to get the complete details. I can make this list and add items and remove items and rearrange the order of the items wherever I want to. So this checklist is kind of like your standard operating procedure. These are the things that I want to get done while they're in this particular stage. If I want to add a stage, a 4th stage per se, let's just say, just for now, more than a, well, spell, more than a year, and I'm just going to say probability, and I'll just say 25%. Now, let's say I want this to be the very first, so I can put 1 of 4 and click Save. So now I have more than a year, 6 months or more, 6 months or less, within a month. If I want to create a checklist, I can go right here and start adding the items that I'd like to place, the items I'd like to have done for anyone that's placed in that particular stage of more than a year. So I'll just say how simple. Add an item. I'm just going to say call your reporter. Put them on a quarterly call plan. There you go. I mean, it's as simple as that. I only have 1 item right now, but if I wanted to, I can add, subtract, remove, whatever I want to do with that particular checklist. The checklists are great if you're just getting into the business and you want to make sure you do the steps that you need to do on a consistent basis. So when you go and you're looking at, for example, I'll pull up just to see, with respect to showing open house, I have a checklist of 7 things that need to be done in this particular phase for this listing that is active. So we are showing, and we've had open houses. So 5 of the 7 have been completed. Do you have to complete them all? No. Because if I click and I want to see what it is, I'm not presenting to the office caravan for this particular instance. The reason why I'm not is because this is in Lakeland, Florida, just a little bit way out of the Oviedo office, short driving distance. And then as soon as I get a hot lead, I will add it to the buyer opportunity. But until I get that, I want a hot lead. A hot lead really has to be hot, not just something that, well, maybe we'll wait and see. It's one that you know that just can't wait. But I can go back and look to see what was done on all the different stages. Of course, nothing's here because I'm not in that particular stage yet. But I can go through and say, okay, all these things are done. I can go back over here. I configured the showing time, so I'm good on that. I know I did the listing info. I placed a for sale sign. I did enter if needed. I created several single property websites. I did graphics. I posted them. I updated the opportunity, And I have a listing folder. We have a physical folder that we actually do. I changed the listing from incomplete to complete, so it's active. And I added the serial number for the particular listing. So when I go back, or if my wife wants to go back and see what we've done with respect to each particular opportunity or buyer, she can simply click here and say, all right, did they do everything in the prior? Okay, did they do everything here? Did they do everything? And that's when you kind of go through and can see what's being done. And you can always change any of these checklists. But take into consideration, if I create a checklist right now, a brand new checklist for at this particular stage of an opportunity that's active, listing active, and they're in showing open house. If I create a new list, the new list will only apply automatically to any opportunity opened or created after the list is created. So if I make a new checklist right now, it will not apply to this particular existing opportunity. It's not retroactive. So if I added a 6th or 7th step to the new checklist, or we'll say 8th or 9th step to this checklist at this particular stage, all opportunities moving forward will see steps 8 and 9. This one will not. By the same token, if I go in and try to add something to this particular one, if I go and add an item here, if I add it here, the only opportunity that particular item will show up will be this particular opportunity. So sometimes we know that maybe there's something special, like during this open house, make sure a virtual tour has been posted on social media. Well, maybe I'm not wanting to do that for all my listings. But if I have a one-off, as I say, you can add the item here that only applies to this opportunity. If you want it to apply to all opportunities, you'd have to do it from in here and then go in here and make the changes. So the checklists are pretty, I find the checklist, to be perfectly honest with you, I love the checklist. I find them extremely useful. It reminds me of what I have done and what I have not done. And since we're a husband and wife team with one admin, and when something has been done or something has been performed or a task has been executed, we can go in and we can check it off. So all the others know it's already been done. So it's like, to me, it reminds me of a shared mailbox. Once somebody's actually looked at the email, everyone sees at least someone's looked at it. So next we're going to go into the details. And for details, I'm going to go to one of my favorite over here. Please disregard any information you may see with respect to personal information. I want to make sure that everyone understands that viewing this, that you are somewhat under a non-disclosure. So whatever you see here, if you see information or contact information, you're not allowed to steal it and or disclose it or share it with anyone else without my express written permission. And I wanted to let you know that so that when we're moving forward, I'm sharing information with you that I want you to pick up on, and pray that, you know, if it's a best practice that you may want to put into your own play, I'm more than happy to be there and walk you through it. So on this particular buyer, and the reason I'm picking this buyer is because I know that she has downloaded the app. So under the details tab, you're going to enter the name. As you know, when you create the opportunity to ask you for a name, I always wait with my buyers until I have the executed contract before I add the address, street address, to the opportunity name. Compliance requires that the opportunity name that you would type here, that's also going to be found right here, that needs to have the street address in it. Whether that's all you put in there, or if you put it at the back end, as long as the street address is in there, that is the easiest way for compliance to search for your particular opportunity. You can say, well, they can search by buyer. there are too many buyers with similar names or whatever the case may be. However, there may be only one of that particular address in our that compliance has to check. Under general information, we're going to have the market center, of course, which is by default, the opportunity name, which by default, when you create the opportunity, is always the last name, and then being this was a buyer, it would say buyer. I then changed this and put the, once I'm executed, put the street address at front. This is the team name with respect to the team that I'm on. Custom tags. I tag all my opportunities because I want to know where I'm getting my business from. This is a repeat customer. We sold her house. We sold her husband's other house. Then they have a house in Eustis. Now they're buying one in Winter Park. I am the owner of the transaction. For those who are on teams, I make sure that myself, my wife, and our admin all have access to this opportunity so they can work it equally. Currently, we're under contract and we're at the financing title commitment, which we have just received. This is the contact's name. There is no co-buyer. When you first open the buyer opportunity, they ask you for a time frame. There's no now, there's either 1 month or whatever. And it's interesting, they just put one, they don't put month. So that may be a bug that needs to be addressed. The appointment scheduled. This is when I first met with Christina when she decided she wanted to start looking at buying another house. She called me, we met, she signed the agreement. We went under contract on 5/29 and we expect to close on 6/29. This is the budget amount, the commission rate. Commission rate under general information is what you're getting paid, not the total commission. This is what the commission will come out to, and then the finance type. Over here under property, it's recommended, best practice, get used to. Go ahead and put the address in here. You do this, it generally will populate some of that. So porch, if I do the porch report, I haven't done one in a while. That's for my buyers, that's definitely their option. However, this particular buyer chose not to use Porch. Porch is an application that we can get through the marketplace. If it's something that you're interested in, may I recommend going to the marketplace and look at the information for Porch. It's a nice little repair estimate tool. Next comes the buyer profile. So this is the app association. So Christina is registered with my consumer platform. She actually has my app and is registered on the website. On the buyer's guide, I need to now manage her guide. So I go through and tell her exactly where it is she is. She's already got this, and now we're getting the home warranty and close. So that's where we're at right now. I'm going to save those changes. Once I've saved those changes, she now gets a notification on her app. This is where she's at. So this is the little Domino pizza tracker that you probably hear people saying, the transaction tracker. Under the buyer profile, when the buyer or seller has registered with the consumer platform, they get notified through the app. So it's another touch for your buyers or sellers. Documents, or as I like to refer to it, compliance. So anytime you see documents, it needs to be compliance. So you have over here we have what we'll call the folder setup. They have the consultation. Generally, there's nothing in consultation. People can add maybe, if you want to add anything you can. Compliance by habit does not check the consultation folder. This is more for you to store, maybe if you want to store letters or things of that nature, possibly photos. You can sort of store these things either in the consultation, or you can create a custom folder. I've done that before for documents I want to make sure remain with the transaction, but either weren't compliance required or something like a letter from the buyer to the seller. I'd always make sure I have that available with me. Next folder is under contract. On this particular, I was showing people with respect to when you originally come through, you will have under contract. And a lot of people have come back and said, well, what happens if I get this and then all of a sudden I need to come back and put in another offer? You come over to the drop down and you would click add a version, and then it would say under contract V2. If we had another version to add here, I would have had the address there. Same with if another offer. So you do not delete or come over here. I don't come over here and replace anything unless it was a broker synopsis and I didn't put the signed broker synopsis. But I'm not going to take it from one transaction and replace it to another. I will add the next transaction. So please understand, whichever one that you are working on, stay under that. And then if something happens with respect to this says like missing, and I went through, there were 2 things missing, and he'll leave you notes where like this says not fully executed, that's why it was rejected. This said that something was missing. And then I had discussion with writer B selected, please provide the executed writer B. I then let him know that the addendum 1 removed the HOA writer and that we are no longer needing the notice of brokerage affiliation since the buyer was no longer using Advantage Insurance. It took a couple times to communicate that to him, but as you can see, even though it says rejected and missing, after we had our conversation, he did approve because everything the contract needed, I actually had everything in there for him. So this is under my under contract folder. Closed. If you don't want to put anything in here, that is purely up to you. This is completely up to you. However, our best practice with the Deborah Morse Home Team is, if I get a copy of the appraisal report, which is getting to be more rare because the appraisal companies and lenders are getting smart with the buyers and letting them know not to share it with everyone. The settlement statement, you should be getting a copy of the settlement statement, the final executed settlement statement from title. I would make sure it's uploaded here. The inspection report. If you want to put the inspection report there, I believe I actually have it in my DocuSign. So if I want to attach it, I will do so before we actually physically close this room or this particular opportunity. If you ever need to just simply, if there's only 4 spots and you want to add something else, doesn't matter what you want to add. Click add item, give it a name. You can say what type of document it is. If you don't really want to specify, just say other. You can put a note if you want to, and where are you going to get this particular document from? Is it on your physical computer? Is it located within DocuSign? And then you can save it. I've done that several times when, with respect, we'll just say under contract, there's only so much space for so many addendums. So I just put optional other and said, you know what, here's the other addendum. Make sure you select the proper transaction type. With a buyer, if the buyer is buying a condominium, then make sure you select condominium. Each of the checklist, the document required list for each of these changes. So buyer new construction, if I'm not mistaken, it's only 2 documents. One being the broker's buyer disclosure and one being basically the executed contract with the builder. However, if you are getting a single family home and you just want to stick everything under new construction, they will not accept it. Compliance will not accept your file, and they will return it to you. At the end, if I decide at the end of this transaction, I want to take everything and export it to a, let's see, Let's say we'll just make a password. Of course, now they're going to say that's not good. Probably need a number symbol. But you make up your password. Actually, I wonder if this is going to do it again. They have been having issues. Let me actually create one. That's what I thought. So when you say select documents to export, it's supposed to allow you to select all, but it's not. Same thing with the folders. It's supposed to allow you to select all. It's not, so I will be reporting this back over to KWRI today. But basically it takes everything that you have in here, exports it to a zip file, which you will password protect, and then send it to your buyer or seller so they have a copy of everything. Because we always say we want to make sure they have a copy of everything. When this export's working again, it's everything. And it's perfect. It's a little, as I say, CYA. Offers tab. Oh, the magical offers tab. I see so many people confused by this simple little tab, and it blows my mind. So with respect to the offers tab, when you create an offer, it's only going to ask you, and I'll just do this. I'll put add new offer, create offer. There are only, basically there are 3 parts that you will have to fill out complete at all. Only 3 parts. The offer details. If you want to give it a version name, feel free. I'm just going to say, then when was the offer date? The fact that you're putting the offer in now, it defaults to the day. So let's say the day is the date, and we're wanting to close in July. So, and all I did was click the calendar. And let's just say the 16th, just for laughs. Now it says select. You can either select or type in the address. So let's just see, and we'll think of one. Oh, I just drew a blank on something, and it just, that's when old age sits in. I tell you what. Okay, I know what it is. And it'll start pulling stuff up. There we go. So I say that. So here's the buyer, which is my buyer here. I can say you don't have to do these, but I have a tendency to do that. It's interesting that it does not put the name in here. Then you come over here. It's supposed to pull the information from the listing. So I'm just going to say Bob Seller. All I need is the seller's name, and then the associate's name. Who's the co-broke? I don't even need the email or phone right now. Then what are they offering? We'll just say, I can either put it all under cash or I can put it under finance. Don't worry about it. Just get it to the sales price is the final price. Don't worry about breaking it down right now. This part you have to be careful with. So let's say they're going to put down $5,000. The reason I say you have to be careful with this is if after negotiations, let's say that this gets knocked down to $290,000. Now, once I click out of there, you're going to, or I'll go over here, I have to change it. What you notice, once I change that, it's going to try to keep the same percentage and change my earnest amount. The earnest amount didn't change. So see, it will go by the percent. Whoa, 290. Right. There we go. So once I go in here and make that option fee, we're not in Texas. We don't have an option fee. Termination note or option, I basically use it as the inspection period. So we'll just say 7 days. And then do agent analysis. Nah, don't worry about it right now. So this is now an offer. So once the offer has been accepted, I can go over here and click, and it will, a little button, and it'll say, add the offer or accept the offer. So I've accepted the offer. Once I've accepted the offer, my commission tab now goes active. Commissions are your green sheets. So this is something that we need to make sure that we understand. And I need to go back to make sure my sales price is actually good. Excuse me. But with the green sheet, a couple changes have been made. One, like I said, you want to watch all this information here. So if I need to change my, see how it says imported from the accepted offer? Put your sale price in there if you need to make any changes. This is new because what will happen, what used to happen is we'd have to go back to the offers, remove the acceptance, make the change, make sure it didn't change everything else, and then come back in and do the commissions. And that could be a very difficult scenario to work with. The payment, if I need to edit payment information, and what do I mean by edit payment information? For example, I put in, it's always there that I put the KW Cares. However, I charge the $395 transaction fee, $395 transaction fee. And then at closing, we have to take out the $100 to our broker. That needs to be in there. So you do it here under edit payment information. So if I needed to add an item like a referral or a bonus or a deduction or a concession, which reminds me this one does have a concession, it needs to be added. So as such, I'll make sure it's put on there, and I'll have my TC go on there to make sure it's on there. Once I'm sure everything on here is right and we're moving forward, and I personally, and this is only the practice for the Mar's Home team, although I have found the MCAs greatly love it, I would never submit until we're past the appraisal period. Because if there are negotiations involved with the purchase price, this all of a sudden changes. And if you've already been approved by the MCA, it's a lot of work on the back end for them to change it and make corrections. So for our, we have some of the best MCAs in Keller Williams, and let's help them out by, instead of causing them more work, let's wait till the appraisal is done before we actually submit and try to get the DAs. Notes. Notes, I mean, it's pretty much what it says. It's the notes. You can make any notes. As a member of a team, everyone on my team will see these notes. Or if I want to, I have the option to use the discussion button. So if we have a discussion, it's almost like a little chat within our opportunity. When she sends out the welcome letter to our all parties of a transaction, one thing that always has to be done is, what is the date of the contract, escrow due, inspections due by, close dates. These are the original contract dates. So that if we need to come back and check for any reason, shape, or form, instead of having to go into the actual contract and look these dates up, we always have it inside our notes. Timeline. From the moment you create the transaction or the opportunity, everything that you've done, everything you do, all notes, all task, all anything is recorded. So it's a log of the entire opportunity. So at one time, we were looking at condominiums. Then we changed it from condominium to single family home. But I can see the date and the times when this is done. So if you see again, March 26th, this is when everything started. April 2nd, I did this. April 7th, I did all this. May 6th, I did all this. So in other words, I go through and I can see a history of my opportunity and see things that need to be done or that were done and who did them, who on the team. For example, I know when my admin went into DocuSign. I know when someone other than me has done something. Now, it doesn't tell me what she did in DocuSign, but it tells me she went into DocuSign. So I have an idea when things have been done. Excuse me. She updated the contract to compliance. We went through, so I could see where I'm doing it and she's doing it. And then after a while, I try to have her take over most of it. This is where compliance has gone in. Compliance went in. This was the other day, I know, because should be the other day, wasn't it? Yeah, because he reached out to me about the what I showed you earlier. You can see German went back in again. Then he realized, whoops, I meant to approve it. So I've gone in. So the last person to do anything with this transaction, looks like it was 10:06 this morning by our TA admin or TC admin. But the timeline gives you an accurate depiction on when things have happened. And the best thing is there's no he said, she said. So we know when things are done and we know when things have happened. It's great. So I'm going to go back to our pipeline, as they call it. And if you notice on these breadcrumbs, they still refer to them as pipeline, as the sales pipeline. What do I mean by breadcrumbs? Let me open up our opportunity here. Pipeline would be, say, for example, this here, where it says buyer active. If I click that breadcrumb, instead of going all the way back to the full sales pipeline where it shows everything, listings, buyers, leases, it only goes to buyer active. This is the full sales pipeline. And with this, I want to open it up to any questions or anyone that might have a question on what we've covered. And I will open it up. Unmute yourself and ask away. And I'll tell you what I am going to do, since I did mention I was going to do this earlier, is I'm going to share that file with you. So give me a second. The file where what I was covering today. Oh, there we go. So is everyone pretty comfortable with, like I said, the biggest change with opportunities has to be the fact that they added the changing of the opportunity details and the changing of editing payment information within, which is great. I like the fact that it did that. I personally prefer it looking that way. And I just put in the chat the sheet that I had at the beginning. And again, the link for my Calendly to schedule the one-on-ones. So Jackie or Abby, any questions? If you don't, I understand. You can simply say, Matt, no questions. I'm more than happy to answer it if you have any. If not, I'll give you back some time. Okay, how about you, Abby? You good? And if you have any questions, you know, you have my contact information. It's on there, so just reach out. Understand I will. There may be delays sometimes because when they know I'm not teaching, they're calling me and texting me 24/7. So I'll be more than happy to help you as best I can. Anyway, I thank you, ladies, for taking time out of your day to join me. And anything, let me know. All right.